Um, as Carmen does that, thank you, VTI, for having me on. VTI has been a special part of my military spouse journey. I became a volunteer. It was one of the organizations with whom I started to volunteer while I just started my when I knew about my identity as a military spouse, that story for another day, because we served for almost 12 years before I found out that, oh, I'm a military spouse. And that was very interesting to know. Um, so Virtua has continued to be a special part for me, and really appreciate just how much I've learned from this community and how much it continues to impact myself and many others. Without further ado, I want to say thank you for having me, and I want to welcome everybody to this presentation. I want to talk about transition as a journey and the transition that happens probably inside. We talk about transition in many, many different ways, but the context in which we talk about it is usually change, like you're moving from one thing into another. We don't take the time to sit and understand what transition actually is and what it does to you on the inside. And I say this from someone as someone who has transitioned a million times, and I literally mean a million times, whether it's through life's regular transitions from a child to teen to adulthood to whatever. I'm also talking as someone who has transitioned in careers, transitioned countries, and transitioned in relationships as well. So this is going to be a journey for us to understand really what is the difference between change and transition, and so we understand what transition generally is. My name is Lydia Owiti-Otienoh. I'm currently the founder and CEO of the Foreign-Born Military Spouse Network, where we support and empower foreign-born spouses of our service members to thrive. So that is also a big transition that happens right there. Next slide, please. Oh, hold on. That's the first slide. No, no, we'll go back to the first slide, Carmen. Thank you very much. So, hmm, before I begin, I want to say clearly, I'm not here as someone who figured out transition out perfectly. I'm here as someone who has lived through it multiple times and survived by learning how to name it, to honor it, and to walk through it alone together with a community. Now, transition is not a one-time thing. When we hear the word transition, we often think one big moment, leaving the military, changing careers, moving to a new place. But transition is not a single chapter, it's a recurring part of being human. We transition when we become parents. We transition when we lose people. My first loss, I didn't even know that was a big transition. When our identities outgrow our environments. When life asks us to become someone new before we feel ready. So if you've ever felt unsettled, disoriented, or unsure of who you are becoming, this conversation right here is very much for you. And I know many of us are right there. Next slide, please. Um, I said I've gone through several major transitions in my life. I've transitioned ages, relationship, countries. I've transitioned, pardon me, identities, roles, careers, positions, and I've transitioned into the military community, not as a service member, but as someone supporting one. And each time the change happened quickly. Remember, I said change and transition are different. There was a move, there was a role shift, there was a new environment. But the transition, which is the internal reckoning, took so much longer. And what I learned is this: you can be functioning on the outside while quietly falling apart on the inside. And because no one teaches us how to actually transition, we are taught how to change. We assume that the struggle means we are failing. What you're feeling inside is like, I don't know. I don't think this is my environment. I don't think this is what I knew. I don't think this is what I was expecting. We assume that that struggle means that there's something wrong, and it doesn't. Next slide, please. I was speaking to a friend of mine one time. We were talking about transition. I went with him through the George Bush Institute program recently. And he commented on one of my posts and said something that stopped me right in my tracks. He said more veterans have been impacted by the civilian transition struggle disorder. He called it CTSD. I had never heard it before. And that more veterans struggle from it than PTSD. And that resonated deeply. I wanted to figure out what exactly is this? And that's because transition struggles don't always look dramatic. They look quiet, they look lonely, they look like doing everything right and still feeling lost. Next slide, please. So here's the core problem. We are very good at talking about change. We mark dates. I'm going to leave the military in 6 months. We celebrate new beginnings. Yay, I'm out of the military. Yay, I'm married. We ask, what's next? And you're quick to want to know, okay, now that I'm out of the military, what's my next position? That is what the transition programs are about. What is your next job? So even in the military context, transition is usually talked about in terms of change, like you're leaving your position in the military and getting your next job. So everything is career related. But we rarely talk about transition, the emotional, the psychological, and the relational process of letting go, adapting, and rebuilding. And when transition is not acknowledged, people internalize the struggle. I tell you that because I have internalized it many, many times. One of the biggest ones was moving from Kenya into America, losing my law degree, feeling like I was useless now. I didn't know I was struggling to understand the fact that this is a new community. People are different. I'm going to have to change the way I operate. I'm going to have to change the way I behave. I'm going to have to change the way I talk. I'm going to have to do a few more things to actually be in that space that I was in. So sometimes we just think there's something wrong with us. I thought there was something wrong with me because how come I wasn't getting the job I wanted? How come I wasn't feeling a sense of belonging like I wanted? But for real, there really isn't something wrong. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between change and transition, because this distinction changed everything for me, and I've seen how it changes everything for some people that I do support in terms of the organization that I run and also privately as a consultant. Change is external and often very immediate. Change, no, transition on the other side is internal and gradual, and it also depends on the person and depends on the circumstances. Change happens to you, while transition happens within you, what's happening on the inside. And here's the most important part. You cannot rush transition. Transition has no time, but you can move through it in a grounded way because you have to figure out so many other factors, not just a job, not just a location, not just the circumstance, not just the neighborhood. There's a lot. Change, you will gain something. In transition, you're losing something. And the outcome or results of a change are very focused. And how things will be different is very clear. Change has a beginning and has an end. It's also usually very fast and it's situational. Transition on the other side is different for each individual. And how you will get people through these stages to make change work have to be very, very clear because transition is different. Now, transition starts with an ending because something ends before you start. For example, the transition I and my son are going through now is he has turned 13 and I am now the parent of a teenager. I've never parented a teenager. So something has ended for both of us. His years before teen have ended. Now he's a teenager. And for me, my years of never parenting a teenager have ended. I'm now starting something. So transition starts with an end and ends with a beginning. We've now begun a new journey, which we are transitioning into. And it can take weeks, months, or years, and it's an emotional thing. And I don't want, as some of us who are males and thinking, oh, I don't want to get into emotions. Trust me, this is not just emotions, emotions. It's what goes on inside you psychologically. And please do not rush transition. Next slide, please. Um, so once I understood the difference between change and transition, I realized something else. Most of us are not struggling because we are weak. We are struggling because we were never given a way to move through transition, particularly with dignity. So I want to offer a framework which has worked for me over and over and over, and which I also share with others as someone that is in contact with multiple people in transition, both as a founder, as I said, in the Foreign Military Spouse Network, but also as an immigrant myself, and with friends and loved ones going through life transitions. This is not to rush you forward, but to help you stay grounded while life is literally shifting underneath you if you're going through that at this moment. So, I call this the grounded transition framework, and it's built on four main pillars. The first one is to ground, the second one is name, the third is integrate, and the last is to move. This framework applies whether you're leaving the military, changing careers, navigating immigration, supporting someone you love through transition, and you yourself, many, many other life transitions that will happen to you. You're now moving from a girlfriend into a fiance. What does that mean? You're moving from a fiance into marriage. What does that mean? Those are big life transitions as well. And the order actually matters. Do not interchange the order because the order in which these are helps you to adequately transition. Next slide, please. Um, Most of people rush into reinvention because that's the word we are told all the time. Well, you are this in the military. You need to reinvent yourself for you to be able to get a civilian career. You need to do this. You need to do that. Grounded transition, however, starts somewhere. It starts with stability. Grounding means you have to name something. Um, we are naming a loss. We are not minimizing it because for real, you have lost something. You are reclaiming a language instead of saying, I'm fine. You are confused. You want to understand what changed internally, not just in externally. Because grounding means you are steady in where you are. And moving, particularly from the military into the civilian life or into any transition that you have, can be really unsettling or destabilizing. It can change you. And I've talked about when I moved from Kenya into America. It can change things internally, and you can feel like you simply do not know where you belong. You simply don't understand systems. You simply like things have changed so much. You're used to a certain structure. Now the structure is no longer there and you feel a little bit hazy. So the first thing is to make sure that you're grounding yourself. You don't need a 5-year plan yet. You need solid ground to stand on. And that is recognizing the fact that you are in transition and something is changing. So grounding is not about being standing still. It's about making sure you don't fall while everything else is moving because everything else around you is moving and sometimes very fast, but you need to be grounded. Next slide, please. Pillar number 2 is naming. People don't fail in transition. They lack words for what they are experiencing. What I see over and over again are unnamed experiences. So you're experiencing something, but you don't know how to identify it. You don't know how to adequately point to this is exactly what I am experiencing. There's an identity shift. I'll go back to my own experience. I've moved from being a lawyer into I don't know what, right? That's an identity shift. You're asking yourself, who am I going to be? You were a surgeon. And what are you going into? You still don't know that part. There is a role loss, right? I was probably a CEO, or I was a program manager or project manager, whatever the role was. Now that is gone. You have to figure the next one out. But if you don't name the fact that you have lost a role, that's something that can really destabilize you, pardon me. Cultural dislocation, some invisible grief. I'm grieving the fact that I've lost my sense of community, which is what happened to me when I moved. I'm grieving the loss of my people. I'm grieving the loss of the kind of food that I used to eat. I'm grieving the loss of how I used to say hello. I'm grieving the fact that my neighbor is now different from my different neighbor, my neighborhood, my environment. Things are so different. So you have lost something. When we cannot name something, most of the time we internalize it as personal failure. But language restores agency because if you know I'm going through identity shift, that is what I'm doing, then you know how to deal with it. And you can find frameworks for dealing with identity shift. If you know it's loss, if you know it's grief, if you know it's cultural dislocation, language restores agency. When you can say, this is grief, this is loss, this is disorientation, you stop blaming yourself for very human responses that we have to what's happening to us, which is change, but inwardly transition. Next slide, please. Pillar 3 is to integrate. Now, integration is to blend. One of the biggest mistakes we make in transition is believing we are starting from zero. And I've heard it so many times like, well, now you are this, now you're going to be this. It's almost like those two things are separated. However, you are not starting from zero. Integration means carrying forward. You're carrying forward your skills, you're carrying forward your values, you're carrying forward your history, your lived wisdom. You don't erase who you were to become who you are going to become. If you don't carry forward something, if you're not integrating something, usually it will be difficult for you to transition properly. Integration prevents erasure because you don't want to erase yourself. For a long time, it felt for me like I had to leave my identity as a lawyer, my identity as a community builder, for me to fully be part of the US community and the military community. Okay, now I have to pick up this new identity and I really have to leave everything aside. I have to forget about my culture because this is the culture I live in now and I have to behave like Americans behave but then I'm already a fully formed adult, or there are things that really I value. There is my history, there is my skills, there's my wisdom. If I abandon everything, it's almost like I become an empty vessel. Now, integration allows you to honor your past without being trapped by it. You honor it, like today I'm still speaking in my native accent, but I'm not trapped by it. I don't live in thinking if I don't speak like this, then there's something that is wrong with me. Or if I speak like very American, then I have now integrated or now I've become the person I'm supposed to become. So I'm trying to say integration prevents erasure. Do not erase yourself. Do not try to erase whatever has been just so that you can get into whatever you're becoming. Slide number 11, please. Thank you. Now, I'm going to spend a little time here. Only after grounding, naming, and integrating does it make sense to move. Please do not move before you do the first three things. And movement does not mean hustle. It does not mean pressure. It means intentional forward motion. Please remember what I've said. Intentional. Be intentional. One conversation, one application, one boundary, one choice that aligns with who you are becoming. Movement rooted in grounding is sustainable. Movement rooted in grounding, meaning you have already grounded, you have already named, and you have already tried to integrate. So now you're picking the next move. Please be intentional with your move. Movement driven by panic is not sustainable. Oh, I have to get a job within the next 2 months. Um, I have to get my next mentor in the next 3 weeks. I have to get this. Do not rush movement because rushing movement means there's going to be some misalignment somewhere. Alignment requires some time. When you take, for example, what I can relate to is when you take your car to the dealer for alignment. Do you think this is something they're just gonna do in 2 seconds? They have to make sure that things work well, because if there's misalignment, something down the road is not going to work well. You will understand as we continue. Now, there's some fundamental steps within movement that will help you to choose which direction to go, because movement is not just movement. You have to know that you're moving towards the right direction with the right tools for you to thrive in your life and be fully fulfilled. So those fundamental steps are starting from the inside, learning from somewhere else, and realizing what is designed for you by God. For those who are believers, this is something really big for me. Next slide, please. All right. Starting from the inside, this one is the most important step because it sets the foundation for your destination and how you get there on your way to fulfillment and true joy. Pardon me as I take a little bit of time here. Now, please take the time to lay a good foundation before you take steps so you move in the right direction. I said that before. I say this because this is where most people go wrong. We want to feel like we are moving because the feeling of moving, the feeling of I'm doing something without knowing which direction and why. I have seen so many spouses take so many different courses just because they are available for free. And then they become confused as to really what they are looking for, or truly what they want to be or what they want to do. So someone has taken project management via O2O, then taken AI via this, then taken HR via this, then taken MBA via, then you just have a collection. You have a collection of certifications, you have a collection of things, but really, which one is you? So when I talk about please know which direction you're moving before you start moving, ground yourself, name where you are, integrate, then move. Because movement is not just movement. One step in the wrong direction is one step too many. You better take time before you make the step, because the foundation is more important. Even as someone who's okay, I've built before, not really physically, but a house that I lived in Kenya. Look at people who build. Where do they take the most time? The foundation, because it's going to carry the whole thing. Your foundation is going to carry you through your life. It's going to ensure that you're fulfilled and you have true joy. You don't want to be the person that wakes up every day because you're going to a job that you really do not like and you're frustrated. Let me give you an example of immigrants that I work with sometimes. When you come in and you get the wrong advice from people and they tell you, you better be a nurse because nursing is the fastest way for you to make money. So guess what? They flock into nursing. They get into school. Maybe they were an accountant and they enjoyed numbers. And now you have gotten into nursing, and you've spent 4 or 5 years in school. You spent $80,000, whatever. I don't know how much. It must be more than that in learning. And then 2 years down the line, you are absolutely frustrated. You do not want to be a nurse anymore. But you saw this idea of people making money in nursing and you thought, wow, this is the best thing for me. So if you don't take anything from me today, please remember to lay a good foundation so that your movement is intentional and is in the right direction. So I say this with the most love. Take your time to understand yourself at your core and be convicted that you're truly living in your purpose. All right. So there are 2 steps in this process. 1, start inside. And 2, learn from someone else. This is what I have used over and over. And the people that I support, I make sure that this is something that they understand. To start inside, ask yourself these 3 fundamental questions. What does my community need from me? What is it that people ask me for help with? This will reveal to you your natural gift and probably a problem that needs solving, which you can solve. So whether it's the direction that you take in terms of career or the direction you take in terms of a business. Number two, what am I good at? What is it that feels easy to me but difficult for others? Or maybe, but just something that comes easy for you. And there is your unique ability. Number three, what brings me joy and energy? That there reveals your God-given design. Because that is what, if you do, you are not going to feel like, ugh, it's another Monday. God, when is Friday coming? Because you are not aligned in terms of what the design of what you're supposed to do. So once you find what brings you joy and energy, that means your God-given design that will can determine your career path, a service or a product that you can provide. Now, the intersection of these answers, the intersection of these three answers is where you will monetize your value, because that is where you will find fulfillment. Now ask yourself again, am I truly working within my actual gifts? Or am I trying to force something that was never mine to carry? If you're building a business, pursuing a career outside of your gifting, I will say there's no amount of hustling that will make it go faster or enjoyable for you. You will wake up at 4 p.m. There's nothing, I will repeat, there's no amount of hustling that will make it faster or enjoyable for you. None. You must be aligned. So don't get, uh, but when it's within your gifting, it is like rowing downstream. If you can imagine how you row, you will still have to work. Don't get me wrong. But the current will be rowing with you instead of against you. I realized this when I was pivoting careers, and I've pivoted careers 3 times. And I'm telling you this because I have pivoted 3 times before I found this is me. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I can't wait to sit on my desk because I am looking forward to what I'm going to do that day. I'm looking forward to supporting someone. I'm looking forward to putting a smile on another person's face. And I realize innately that is who I am. Please don't get somewhere where you'll be rowing against the current, or the current will be rowing. Yeah, well, English. Try to get into a career where the current will be rowing with you, because there will be current and there will be work to be done, but you want the current to be rowing with you. So leverage your talent and stop being someone else. Everyone else is taken, just be you. Monetize who you were made to be, my sisters and brothers. Someone once said, you cannot outwork misalignment. You cannot outwork misalignment. And if you read an excerpt down there, you must intentionally align your time and activities with your strengths and unique abilities for your best performance and satisfaction. There are 2 things that you need. You will be performing and you will need to be satisfied, because your performance determines the satisfaction. But for you to perform, you need alignment, because your performance sometimes requires your motivation. You will not perform when you're not motivated, when you're not feeling like I'm doing something that I like. So that alignment brings performance, and performance brings satisfaction. So it's almost like a snowball. And all these things is a cycle connected. If you're not aligned, performance will not be good and satisfaction will not be good. Now, I read that somewhere in the book called the 12-week year, which is a game changer, by the way. And I'm not marketing it. I just know the profound impact it made in my own life. If you can find that book, the 12-week year, you will thank me later. Number 2 is learn from someone else. Here you get a mentor, a coach, a counselor, whatever you want to name it. Find someone maybe who has the life you want to live, or is doing the things that you want to do, or has done them already, and learn from them. And the most important part is to implement what they tell you. Implementation. Execution. That is where the secret sauce is. People ask, what is the secret sauce? What is the secret sauce is work. The secret sauce is implementation. The secret sauce is execution. Because you can be coached for days, you can be given templates, you can be given everything, but if you do not implement, if you do not execute, really, there's going to be no difference. There are amazing programs out there, like the 1 year mentoring program by ACP. I'm sure you know ACP. Or the on-demand mentorship offered right here by Vets2Industry. What's the name? I know there is one. I'm even part of it as a volunteer, where some awesome people out there are willing to share with you their journey. They're willing to be your cheerleader. They're willing to introduce you to the right people and open doors for you. I will confess that this is true, what they say that 80% plus of jobs are filled through networking. Because out of the 8 jobs I've ever had in my entire life, only one was not through my networks. That's a confession I have to make. I've held 8 jobs in my life and only one was not through my networks. And guess what? Which one it was? What I'm doing now, because it's something I started. And then one of those did not start out as a job. It was a volunteer position that eventually ended up becoming a job after 3 years of volunteering. So still, it was out of the network that I had built. The truth is, you will either spend time or money. So now that you have it available for free, take your time. A mentor is like a GPS. Tells you where to turn, helps you to avoid traffic, gives you the faster route. Essentially, you get to skip mistakes they already made, and you get the roadmap, sorry. And then you compress learning time and gain more people in your network. I can't believe how many people I got when I was at, when I used, before Vets2Industry, the name was, Carmen, can you remind me the name? Because I know I used it.
Veterati.
Veterati, thank you. So I use Veterati, and the number of people, even I found out about Vets2Industry from Veterati. I was connected to so many people through Veterati, and I can tell you the power that those little mentorship things that do amazing. Just no, the week before, I was sitting with someone talking about giving some resources that that I know would help them. And last week they came to me, told me they already have an interview. They never thought for the last 3 years they would even have access to such a person. It's someone at Deloitte. They would never believe they had access to someone like that. And now they have an interview for a job that, God willing, they might get. Who knows? All right. Enough of that slide, but I hope you take away alignment and finding yourself at the core. Next slide, please. Oh, there's something I'm forgetting in that slide. In that slide, please go back a little bit. There's something I wanted to say here. If you're a believer, and I hope some of you are, Proverbs is a great book, one of my favorites. But regarding this, if you go to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22, it says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but but with many advisors, they succeed." You might have your plan to transition. You might have your plan to get a job. You might have your plan to do this, to do that. Please seek counsel, and that goes into learning from others. Finally, all we get is time and choices. That's all you get ever in life. Time and choices. So be wise with both. Thank you. Next slide, please. It's important that we consider community as we transition. There are 5 things that helped you in the military to thrive. Now, ask yourself during transition, do you have those 5 things as you get out? You had meaningful employment, you had purpose through service, you had a connected community, which is your tribe. You had health because you were physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally okay, probably. And you had a kit bag filled with things you need constantly to seek improvement. And this is why community matters so much, because actually it sits right in the middle of those five things. The community can set you up with the meaningful employment and the purpose, and the community can set you up with good health and a kit bag for how you constantly improve yourself. So that is why it matters so much. The community is your tribe, the people that truly understand you. I speak from experience because through the Foreign Born Military Spouse Network, we see how many compounded transitions people go through. They're immigrating, they're relocating, careers disrupted, family has been impacted at many different levels. They have lost almost everything. But what our motto is, we are from different roots, but the mission is the same. What's the mission? We are part of the military community, and we want to build a safe and secure nation. Now, because we are connected through this, we are going to support each other through whatever it is. And as I speak here as a founder and CEO of Foreign Born Military Spouse Network, it's not that I'm marketing it. I'm just telling you what it means to be part of people that truly understand you. There are many spouses who've said and continue to say, I never felt like I belonged until I found you people. I never felt like anybody understood me until I found this organization. I never felt like I could talk to anyone because some people just do not understand the compounded, issues that you face. You are an immigrant because foreign born spouses live at a very difficult intersections of two very complex systems, immigration and military. Combined, this is a recipe for disaster. And so if you find your tribe, the people that truly understand you and are truly there to support you, that makes a difference. No one should have to do grounding, naming, integrating, and moving alone. Overall, community is a powerful catalyst for change, both individually and collectively, because it reduces loneliness, it alleviates the stress, and it fosters a sense of belonging and identity, which has been proven by research that is responsible for longevity and health and people who actually live a fulfilled and thriving life. Engaging with others who share similar experiences can lead to a more fulfilling and connected life. Community plays a very critical role in transition because it provides you the emotional support, practical resources, and a sense of belonging. And I talk about practical resources because these resources are supposed to be are supposed to be the ones that are related to what you're going through. Now, in the context of sustainability, community engagement is vital for your success. It empowers you to actively participate and to shape a sustainable future because you get tailored strategies to your specific needs. Now, how can you create community? Join a support group, attend local events, volunteer, engage. There are many ways. Even you being here is part of creating community. Now, as I close today, if you're in transition right now, whichever, and I will repeat, we are always going through some kind of transition. You are not broken, you are just becoming. Ground yourself, name whatever is real for you, integrate what still belongs to you, and move gently, intentionally forward. Thank you, people, for your time. Hopefully, you got something useful today. I'm very open to questions here or later through my email or social media on your screen. Thank you for listening.